All right, we will begin in about 30 seconds here. All right. Are you ready? Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the committee meetings for October 28th, 2025. Our elected body are Mayor and Council President, Mayor Kurt Wilson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Alan Sells, Councilmember David Johnson, Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember G. Lee Hills, Councilmember William Morthland. I am Randy Knighton, the Chief Administrative Officer, along with Chief Legal Counsel David Davidson, and also Michelle Miller, who is the Deputy City Clerk and Executive Assistant to the Council. The purpose of committee meetings are for city departments to convey information to the mayor and city council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda, as well as provide updates of vital information essential to the operation of city government. And by ordinance, the committee consists of the elected body as well as the city administrator, who serves as chair of the meetings. This is a public meeting, but not a public hearing, and therefore, while we certainly welcome members of the public here this evening, we do not normally take public comments or questions during these meetings unless specifically authorized by mayor and council. Public comments and questions are received on the second and fourth Monday of each month in the regular city council meetings, as well as the fifth Monday in open forum. And we do encourage residents to reach out to our city departments and engage our online platforms if you have any questions, if you would like to report a concern. We also direct you to the web service portal of the city of Roswell, and also view Roswell365.com for a calendar of events. And we will alter our normal protocol for just a moment. Want to turn this over for just a moment to Councilmember William Morthland. We have a very special group here with us tonight, and we want to ensure that they are acknowledged and recognized. Councilmember Morthland.
Thank you. We are joined tonight by Troop 431 and 432 out of the RUMC here in the city of Roswell. They are sitting on the back row back here and working on their citizenship in the community merit badge. Right. So I encourage our council members and mayor to be on our best behavior as we are setting the highest standard of professionalism.
All right, thank you very much, and certainly we extend a very hearty welcome to you all here this evening and participating in our committee meeting, and I certainly would also advise and or encourage you to watch our 3.5 hour meeting last night, 4 hour meeting last night, 4 hour meeting last night, our mayor and council meeting last night that lasted till about 11:15-ish or so. But there were a number of items on last night's agenda that are really transformative for the city of Roswell, and in all seriousness, if you do get an opportunity, you can certainly gain a great deal of understanding of city government operations and the numerous initiatives moved forward last night by this mayor and council and the grand vision that the city has for advancing Roswell forward. So we certainly encourage you to take a look at last night's meeting. The first item on the agenda for this evening are the minutes for the October 14th, 2025 committee meetings. Excuse me. Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Hill, second by Councilmember Johnson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 2 is listed on our regular agenda. Consideration for the mayor and or city administrator to approve the contract authorization with Garland DBS in the amount of $2,412,263 for the replacement of the existing roof at the Crabapple Center with a total budget allocation of $2,653,489.30. That will be presented by Stephen Malone, the Director of Recreation, Parks, Historic, and Cultural Affairs. Mr. Malone.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This project remains an integral part of the phased plan that we have implemented for the Crabapple Center. This enables our teams to address several specific program expansion needs across gymnastics, performing arts, and athletics. Within the last 4 years, we've experienced almost 21% growth in our gymnastics participation and about 80% increase in participation in our performing arts enrollment. That's over the last 4 years coming out of COVID. So that just underscores the demand and importance of these planned facility improvements as we look at it as a holistic approach. You'll notice I showed this slide last night as we talked about the pickleball court improvements at the Crabapple Center. You'll notice that we've completed phase 1. We're moving into phase 2, and the top 2 items there are the pickleball courts and this roof replacement request that we'll be presenting to you tonight. The Crabapple Center is home currently to Recreation and Parks programming. It's approximately 127,000 square feet. The roof replacement safeguards the city's investment long-term, as well as aligns with our approach with the 2020 bond parks improvement to modernize and protect all city assets and infrastructure. We've had several different assessments performed by third-party contractors. What we've determined is that currently there are over 100 active leaks in the roof system at the Crabapple Center. You'll notice that's actually not chickenpox on there. That's actually areas where they're identifying active leaks currently. The assessment of the findings is that there is significant moisture penetration within the facility itself. You'll notice identified deficiencies in a lot of the specific areas. Age and minimal loss indicate widespread system failure, leaking, flashing, saturated insulation, falling gutters, and there's for sure potential mold and structural concerns if we don't address some of these now. Our recommended solution is that we replace the current sections of the roof, which are sections B, C, and D, and I'll identify those for you in a moment, with a modified bitumen system, which is an asphalt-based roofing material for a low slope or flat roof that is reinforced with polymers and fiberglass, which creates a durable and flexible waterproof membrane. These systems are installed in 2 or more layers to provide excellent weather resistant and strength. The modified bitumen roofs are known for their long lifespan, 20 to 25 years or more, can handle heavy foot traffic, making them a popular choice for a lot of commercial and industrial buildings. This also includes insulation upgrades and improved drainage around the structure. I mentioned to you that this specifically identifies areas B, C, and D on the roof structure. You'll notice I left out A. A is identified on this as the roof, this long roof, which is relatively new with not very many active leaks. We believe we can manage this internally. It's the sections B, C, and D that are significantly aged and need the most amount of focus. The intended outcomes are pretty obvious. You'll see that this eliminates all the leaks and prevents future water intrusion. This allows us to also get into other spaces within the facility that we can ensure safe and weatherproofing so that we don't go in and do any more upgrades within this structure and then end up with a roof leak within one of those renovated areas. This improves the energy efficiency and drainage performance. It extends the facility life and reduces maintenance costs long term. It supports the uninterrupted city programming that we would look for, and specifically as it relates to the performing arts expansion. The financial overview, the total budget allocation is $2.6 million. That includes a 10% contingency. The contract authorization with Garland would be for $2.4 million. This is done through the bond-funded programs. Here's the projected timeline. You'll notice that these dates specifically align with and would run parallel to the installation of the pickleball courts on site. So we would potentially go under contract December 1st with a project completion estimated for April of 2026. Happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Any questions, comments from Mayor and Council? Yes, Councilmember Beeson.
Given the water intrusion, was there any significant mold damage that we need to remediate?
There's no mold that we are actively looking at that would need significant remediation. However, the longer that persists, there's an unknown factor to that if it's not addressed.
So if we get rid of the water source, then it'll remediate itself. And then remind me, what year was the school built? Does anybody remember? Pre-1980? Ooh, that's right at the line. I would assume the school probably provided a HERA reports to us, which are asbestos reports, since it's like usually 1980 is the questionable year. Something I would just recommend providing to the contractor, because there's a lot of times asbestos in roofing, especially with the asphalt that they use for the roofing tops. So just throwing that out there, that's something we might want to be able to provide the contractor with.
Okay, thank you. All right, yes, Councilmember Hall.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. The section that was A, that's just that overhang that, where the bus stops are?
It's actually on the field side. If you'll notice, you can see on the lower end, here is actually the tennis courts that we talked about last night.
Okay.
This is actually the bus lane on this side. This is actually a late addition to what we can tell would be a add-on to the Crabapple Center. This is actually a long hallway that runs along parallel to, this is the field side. It's much newer. You can tell it's been replaced much earlier than the remainder of B, C, and D.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hills.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. I know we've talked about other uses in the Crabapple Center potentially. It's not in stone yet. Adaptive use for some of our special needs populations, which would probably be at that bus lane, maybe. And then other possible uses for like woodworking, shop, trade type, building type thing. Those areas, you guys have already looked at whether or not we need to pop up or do anything with the roof, right? So roofing now is okay and doesn't impede any plans that we have scratched out, not formal yet, but for those uses or others, correct?
That's correct. Everything that we're recommending for replacement would absolutely encompass all the areas that we would be looking at for recognized expansion and potential future expansions into that space.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or comments pertaining to this item? All right, seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to move this forward. Motion by Councilmember Morthland, second by Councilmember Hills. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, that passes unanimously, and we'll move forward to the next Mayor and Council meeting. Thank you very much. Item number 3 is listed on the agenda. Consideration for the mayor and/or city administrator to approve the contract authorization with Musco Sports Lighting LLC utilizing the Sourcewell contract 041123 MSL in the amount of $3,658,500 for the LED light conversion for athletic fields and racket courts with a total budget allocation of $4,207,275. Mr. Malone.
Thank you. This is another exciting project that we are thankful to be able to bring to you tonight. This project will modernize our aging metal halide systems with LED lights. This is system-wide. This will replace 699 fixtures on 167 poles, with the exception of Hembry Park and Grimes Bridge. I'll explain the Grimes Bridge component in just a moment. Hembry Park, the reason we are not considering that park for this upgrade is because we recognize that in 2026, we will be doing a substantial redesign of that park. So we did not want to go in and potentially change out light fixtures that could potentially be removed or moved in general prior to us going through Hembry Park design process. You'll notice that this is a 2022 Parks Bond funded program. To give you a little background, I mentioned Grimes Bridge Park. Grimes Bridge Park was actually used as a pilot program in 2021, where we worked in partnership with our Roswell Soccer Club to install these same Musco lighting and the control link package at the Grimes Bridge soccer fields. The result in the last 4.5 years of operations of those LED lights, we've had 0 complaints, 0 maintenance cost, and it has significantly helped us reduce our staff hours via a remote scheduling option. Again, the control link, and I'll get into that in a minute. Some of the key benefits from the LED package that we're putting forward: it effectively reduces energy efficiency by over 50%. The annual energy savings that we are recognizing would be $36,000 annually. The control link option, which is the remote control related to these lights, meaning being able to turn them on and off remotely, provides an option for reduction in our staffing by almost 25% for part-time support in the evenings. That equates to about $42,000 annually. As well as the infrastructure impact. It lowers the electrical load and extends equipment life for existing infrastructure. To tell you a little bit about the technology and the control, it is the Musco TLC LED with the control link package. It features remote scheduling, dimming, automatic monitoring, and 24/7, 365 days a year support. That is at no extra cost to the city. The warranty that we were able to negotiate with Musco provides a 15-year comprehensive coverage. That's materials and labor. That effectively means for 15 years we will not have to manage any problems with this system. This gives you a 10-year review of those annual cost savings. 10 years of energy savings is approximately $361,000. 10 years in staff efficiency gains, $420,000. And 10 years of maintenance savings, which it costs us about $55,000 a year to maintain the metal halide lights currently from a materials and labor cost. That gives you a total return on investment at about a 10-year mark of just over $1.3 million. This gives you the financial overview for this project. The total budget allocation would be $4.1 million. That includes 15% contingency costs. The contract authorization would be for $3.6 million. The funding source is the bond, 2022 bond. And just to give you a little bit of background, we had originally scheduled these upgrades independently within each individual park. That was originally estimated at a $5.1 million cost within the bond items and then in the priority list. By combining them into a single project, we potentially will save approximately $1 million in bond funding that will go back into question 2 that we'll be able to do because we're doing all of this at one time with one contractor. The timeline: estimated contract signing December 1st, potential construction begins January. This would be a rolling project, which means they would take these one field at a time, and we would estimate that all 669 fixtures would be installed by August of 2026. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Councilmember Morthland.
Director Malone, during our review of this process, you had informed us that the general warranty is a 10-year, but you were able to negotiate a 15-year warranty on this?
So generally speaking with Musco, they want to come in and install the pole, the lights, and the control link all as one package. And what that generally will obligate us to is if we go with the pole, the light fixture, and the control link package, they'll guarantee a 25-year warranty. Well, the majority of our light poles have already been converted from the wooden structures to the concrete poles over several years. So we don't need the concrete poles to be replaced. We just need the fixtures. And typically speaking, with just the fixtures, they only wanted to warranty about a 10-year warranty. We negotiated to a 15-year.
That's fantastic. And the IT that's related to this, is part of this package, and we never have to worry about 10 years, 15 years down the road repurchasing that IT piece.
That's correct. For 15 years, it will provide a monitoring service 7 days a week, 365 days. In fact, their monitoring system generally will get ahead of us somewhat. They'll be able to identify a light outage, most likely before we would, and they would go ahead and schedule it and notify us of when they would be coming out to do the replacement.
Well, I can't tell you how thrilled I am not to be receiving phone calls and emails about lights not being on at fields. So this is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Beeson.
2 questions. Could you clarify why the Hembury Park fields are not included on that one?
Sure. So Hembury Park is going through a complete remodel in 2026. We wanted to leave that option open in case poles needed to be removed.
Okay.
If we needed to move poles around at that time, we could. The plan with the redesign at Hembury Park will be to upgrade those lights with the LED package as part of that construction and remodel at Hembury. So we just wanted to package that as one construction project, not get in there and do the LEDs now where we might potentially have to remove something, move something, and it just wouldn't fit within the new redesign.
Makes sense. And then, is there a reason why Sweet Apple Ballpark fields do not have lighting?
The Sweet Apple field lights currently are owned by Fulton County School Board, not city property.
Okay, so we just use those, but because of that, we can't control if there's lighting.
We have a current intergovernmental agreement with Fulton County that allows the usage of those fields, but they're not technically city-owned property.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or comments pertaining to this item? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Morthland, second by Councilmember Beeson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, that passes unanimously and we'll move forward as well. Item number 4, consideration for the mayor and/or the city administrator to award a contract to Precision Turf, LLC, for the Grimes Bridge Soccer Fields construction project in an amount of $3,564,032 in project budget authorization of $3,989,870.32. And for this item, we have several of our team members here. If you would, for the record and for the audience, would you introduce yourselves, please?
Well, since Stephen's already had a lot of the mic time, Brian Watson, Director of Environmental Public Works and overseeing the CIP division.
Okay.
Corinne Valentine, Deputy Director, Environmental Public Works.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Malone.
I'll kick this off tonight, but I will tell you I am extremely grateful to have our partners in the CIP team collaborating together with us on this project specifically. They are one of the best partners we have within the city to ensure that our projects are moving on time, on budget, and are very helpful in all of our stormwater management challenges.
All right, thank you.
The project overview, this is regarding Grimes Bridge. This is the recommendation to convert the 2 existing natural grass soccer fields to artificial turf. This would remove and replace the retaining wall that currently separates the upper and the lower fields, as well as replace all the fencing and the netting around those fields. Part of this project has several stormwater best management practices and a rehabilitation of the existing detention pond that is on site. This would be part of the 2022 bond priority list. To give you a little background on the projects, these fields specifically were built in the early 2000s on the native soil in that area. While we've gotten better at the natural grass that has been there and improved it over the last 5 years, it still consistently sees significant amount of rainouts throughout the year. The fields are typically closed from December and January and June through August. This gives our teams opportunities to get in and do reparative maintenance to get these fields up and running for the general other, what I'll call 8-9 months out of the season. The key benefits of adding this to the artificial turf fields is it provides a 10-year lifespan with proper maintenance. That gives us 10 years with this product. It provides 29 hours per week from February to November and approximate staff time savings. That's cutting, edging, painting, everything else that goes into maintaining those fields. It provides a full-size artificial turf field, which is one of the requirements for the league that we affiliate, which is the Development of Players League. That's the home of all of our competitive soccer teams. Expands the field usage. We'll be able to line more fields onto this space, which provides expanded program use year-round. The turf specifics, it's a hybrid 3-layer turf system. This is very similar to the turf that we just replaced on Roswell Area Park, East Roswell, and Grove Way. This product provides an 8-year warranty on the artificial turf itself. This gives you an overview of the two fields specifically. You'll notice that this is adjacent to the Roswell Adult Recreation Center. We will be able to continue to maintain activities and access to the Adult Recreation Center with no disruption during construction. There will be a few parking spaces adjacent to the fields that will have to shut down, that will not be accessible to the public, but those will primarily be the parking spaces that are right here along the field edge due to construction and laydown area. There will be a temporary one-way in and one-way out for vehicular traffic through Grimes Bridge and the Grove Way Parks during this construction, which we will be able to manage accordingly. This starts to show an overview of the project scope, including the 2 new turf fields, the new retaining wall that runs through, as well as the stormwater enhancements that will be made adjacent to the field near the parking lot. We will be doing some cleanup within the detention pond that is currently on site. That will involve the removal of approximately 95 trees that have volunteered trees that have grown and are starting to impact that detention pond. We do have 28 trees coming back for replacement at the end of this project. I'll turn it over now to Ms. Corinne, who can take us through our procurement process.
Right. So just a little background. I joined the city 3 months ago as part of the CIP team, the Capital Improvement Program team. So I've been working with the great Recreation and Parks Department just on this, as this project moves to construction. This is not the only project that we've been working on together, but this is the first project that we are bringing to you as a team. So there's some background information on the procurement process. We did put it out to bid in September. We got bids back in October. We have 3 successful bids. We really did actually. They were within 9% of each other. And so I think that's a really good sign that the project was designed well and all of the risks were considered. And so we had 3 bids come in. The lowest bidder is Precision Turf LLC. They were the lowest responsible bidder, and we recommend awarding it to them. We also are requesting the remaining $425,316 funds to go towards construction admin and contingency. And that leaves us with 11% contingency. And so one risk we had kind of been concerned with this project was soils, because there has been issues there and there is rock in that area. So one way we have, I should say the team has mitigated this, is instead of planning on much digging, the soils were built up for the turf. And I believe it shows in the bids that the contractors aren't concerned with risk. So anyway, good project. We're excited about moving forward with it. Moving forward, we are bringing it to council today and hope to have a contract signed in December, which would start us construction January. We have a construction duration of 250 days, which is just over 8 months, which will get us finished up by August and get the soccer season started in time for fall.
And I think that's a perfect segue. That will lead us right into our fall 2026 season, which will allow us to get our programs back on that field as quickly as possible. I think the other really interesting fact that comes along with this project upgrade with these soccer fields is that this will be concluding right in and around the World Cup ATL that will be taking place in June 15th through July 15th of 2026. So this soccer field improvement will be coming to a conclusion right about the same time that the World Cup will be here in Atlanta, which I think is really cool for our teams.
Thank you. All right, thank you all very much. Councilmember Hills, and then we'll get Councilmember Beeson.
Thank you. I believe I remember that those fields are being brought up to, I've forgotten the name of the league standard size, DPL?
DPL, you're
Yes.
right. Yep, it's right here. It's our Development Players League.
Perfect. You mentioned closing off the parking closest to the fields. Is that just during construction, then those will be reintroduced after the fields are opened back up?
Correct. There's no reconfiguration of the parking. We just need to utilize those parking spaces closest to the field side to stage material
Understood.
and stuff related to
I was
the
making sure it wasn't the expansion, which I'm for the expansion to the
Yep.
right
The
side.
parking
but it
lot
doesn't
will remain
impact-
exactly as is at the
Great.
conclusion.
There will also be a water quality feature that's going to be on the east side of the park to mitigate and actually do the stormwater improvements. We are utilizing, there's going to be some on that, but we're utilizing some of that area so that we don't have to have construction elsewhere. Yep.
Councilmember Beeson.
I got questions. Okay. I would say baby, but he'd be mortified if he heard me call him that. My oldest baby plays in the U10 league. He does not play in the U10 league. That would be weird. My oldest plays in the U10 league on these fields. He dominates. So I am very familiar with these fields, sit there quite often. In terms of those, the parking spaces that you were talking about, I assume that the whole entire field is going to be closed off during the spring season. So where will those games be rerouted to?
So we will be working with our program staff to make sure that we will be able to, the great thing about the Sweet Apple soccer fields is we're able to reline those in any different configuration that we need. So that's part of the plan, and while these fields come offline for us, we'll be able to expand some of the programming out there. The challenge with the Sweet Apple field still in that capacity while we're doing those interim games is it's still a natural turf. So it's still going to have the, rainouts and the makeups and the things that go along with it. But that's a manageable option we can take while we're under construction with these two fields.
I love a natural turf field. That's one of the things I liked about this. I don't have to shake 5,000 pebbles out of my child's cleats when I put him in my van, like we do with my younger at Grimesbridge or the other fields at Groveway. That begs the question too, since this is a different product than we previously used, do we have any product letters from the vendor on it being PFOS free?
Yes, we do.
So it's been third-party inspected?
Yes, so these are the same materials that we have utilized at the other turf replacements that we've already done as far as the bond program is concerned.
Got it. And so I assume this is going to use a rubber crumb infill?
Correct.
Is that going to be recycled tire crumb infill?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any way we could source that differently, just because there've been several studies on the crumb infill possibly having heavy metals in them, just because of tire usage? So something we might want to look into. Also, I know that some of the products we previously looked at, it was supposed to mitigate the temperature impacts. It feels like you're on the surface of the sun. When there is no shade out there, there's no shade out there. So is there, the way that this is designed, is it the cool field that we've looked at before, or is this different?
So we did do one of our fields in the Cool Tech.
Yes.
That basically, that marketing material associated with that product explains that it lowers the temperature of the surface of the field. When we actually installed that field and we actually started doing some of our on-field testing, what we noticed is it was about a degree or two that was a change in factors between the fields that had the Cool Tech on it and the fields that did not. And after that, we made that initial kind of evaluation. For the dollar associated with the Cool Tech, it did not seem to be providing an adequate return on investment.
That's fair. Did we do any comparisons to the natural grass fields?
Natural grass fields are always going to be significantly lower in your heat, for sure.
Got it. And there's no way that we would be able to engineer this field to just have better drainage with natural grass? Is turf the only option? I realize that you said that the league requires a turf field, but we also have 3 turf fields adjacent to it. None of those fields would be adequate for this league?
That's correct. So currently, there are no full field size natural turf fields within Roswell. We do not have a.
For artificial turf?
We do not have a full-sized artificial turf field within our facilities here in Roswell.
Got it, and that's a
And
requirement
that
of the
is a
league?
requirement. We've been able to work under an exception and waiver with the DPL League currently because they knew we were working on this option.
Got it, because it's temporary. Understood. That's helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, Councilmember Morthland.
This is going to match the other fields that we've done when it comes to the branding and the logo as well.
Yes, we would take the same approach as far as the marketing and the logo and everything on the field.
That's highly important to the mayor, so we wanted to make sure we got that answer.
All right. All right. Councilmember Beeson, or I'm sorry, Councilmember Morthland, will you finish? Will you finish, sir? Okay. Councilmember Beeson, Councilmember Beeson.
One last question. After the remodel of this field to convert it to artificial turf, do we have any remaining soccer fields in the city of Roswell that would be maintained as natural grass fields?
Yes, Woodstock and Sweet Apple would remain natural grass.
Got it. Okay, and so there's no goals for conversion on that one then?
That's correct.
Understood. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any further questions or comments regarding this item? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Morthland, second by Councilmember Johnson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right. Thank you all very much. The last item is listed on, is that the last item? Oh, the second to last item. Next to last item. We don't want to prevent Mr. Stevens from coming forward. The next item, item number 5, is consideration of a resolution to adopt TAD, that's Tax Allocation District, policies and procedures, and establish a Tax Allocation District Advisory Committee, or TAD, TAD number 1, Roswell East-West Connection TAD. Mr. Connolly.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Tonight, we're talking about the Roswell East-West Connection Tax Allocation District, also known as TAD number 1. These are proposed policies and procedures that cover project evaluation, funding, and oversight. Back in November 2024, you all had established the Tax Allocation District. This was part of our economic development strategy, and this is one of several economic development tools that we established or are establishing. This particular slide is showing you the boundaries of the tax allocation district. It includes 6 schools, 3 parts, includes the Fulton County Library, but it also has aging shopping centers that have vacancies. There's also some blight in there. And the mayor and council you approved yourselves as the redevelopment agent for the tax allocation district. And what that means is that you have the authority to issue bonds if you want to. You also have the authority to approve of how the funds are spent within the tax allocation district. At the time, we talked about coming back to you with some formal policies and procedures, and that's what this is. And in your packets is 16 pages, which has some detail of those policies. The eligible uses are defined by the Redevelopment Powers Act. It includes capital costs for construction renovation, land grading, also professional services such as architectural, engineering fees, and also real property assembly costs if you're acquiring some property for redevelopment. As we talked about before, you could issue bonds and fund projects that way, but the funds are distributed on a reimbursement basis, so they would have to incur those costs, and then they come back to us for funding of those costs ultimately. You're approving the funds or the spending of those funds ahead of time, but then they would come back on a reimbursement basis. This slide is showing a TAD advisory committee. This is a proposed committee. As we started thinking about and talking with the county and thinking about the school board application, and we want to get them to participate in the TAD, they are requiring a TAD advisory committee to be established. What this is showing is a 5-member TAD advisory committee. 3 of the seats would be appointed by the city council, you all. One would be the chair, it's a member of council. You'd have 2 other members, somebody from the Roswell Development Authority and one from the Downtown Development Authority. Again, those 3 seats are appointed by mayor and council. There's 2 other seats, Fulton County Schools and Fulton County. They would be appointing their own representative to that particular board, advisory committee. The roles essentially are providing community input on planning, design, and implementation. They would also oversee projects and TAD bond allocations. They would also monitor progress and recommend projects to the mayor and council. We've established in these policies and procedures a rigorous project application process where we'd have a pre-application meeting with the person that, or the company that is requesting funding. We would go through an economic development review initially, then they would to make sure that it is in alignment with the economic development strategy. They would then file a formal application, and at that point it would go to the TAD advisory committee for review. We'd negotiate agreements, and then it would ultimately go to mayor and council for approval as the redevelopment agency. We would keep you all advised as to where projects are in this particular pipeline. But this is a project process that we have established in the policies. There are some guidelines that are in there, so it would need to be consistent with law and policy, essentially the redevelopment powers law. It would have to be in compliant with the TAD plan that you had established and approved. We would be looking at what is the fiscal impact, the financial need. There's a thing called the but-for test. So it's but for this funding, would a project be feasible? So we'd be looking at that, looking at what the public benefit and return would be for those projects. This is a list of possible uses of funds. Could be for stormwater management, could be parks, open space, it could be for educational facilities if we want to fund a project that is on school property. We have the ability to do that. And there's also other uses allowed by the Redevelopment Powers Act. If a project is not feasible and you wanted to fund a project and make it feasible, you can finance or provide up to 15% of the project costs. But there's a whole assortment of things that you can spend money on within the tax allocation district. The program and project eligibility requirements, we thought about this a bit, and we landed on basically a minimum size of $1 million unless there's a public purpose or otherwise approved. If it's a private property, we're looking for that private entity to contribute at least 10% of the project cost. If it's a public project, that would be waived. Has to be within the TAD boundary. The entity needs to control the property. There has to be some financial necessity, and it needs to be compliant with the economic development strategy and the growth plan. Applicants would also need to demonstrate that they have a financial need. So are there high development costs? Are there certain infrastructure requirements, such as rebuilding some stormwater or retainage? Are there certain public amenities that we want to fund, or are the construction costs high? And are there certain things that we want to accomplish in the redevelopment plan? In terms of project benefits, we want to make sure that the project supports the redevelopment goals associated in the plan, as well as the economic development strategy. Is it creating quality jobs? Is it generating tax revenue and reducing costs on the school and the city? In terms of the project evaluation, we're going to run it through a weighting criteria, looking at the developer's qualifications, looking at the project readiness, and looking at the project impact of that project. So in summary, this is essentially, it's a framework for project evaluation, funding, and oversight. We are asking council to approve a resolution that's adopting the tax allocation district policies, but also establishing the tax allocation district advisory committee for this particular TAD.
All right.
To answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Connolly. Councilmember Hall.
Thank you for the presentation. How does this compare to other cities or municipalities, their TAD programs? I'm currently working with one in outside of Tampa, and it seems a lot less onerous than ours, and I'm just curious as to how this compares.
So when we started to develop the policies, we looked at some other cities. We looked at the Decatur. We looked at some of the tax allocation districts in the city of Atlanta, and what is the criteria that they're using. And so we have modeled ours on those tax allocation districts.
Councilmember Sells.
Christine, would you elucidate on what was onerous and what you've seen differently just a little bit, if you don't mind?
Just the slide that had the process, like 7 items that were going across from left to right.
This one? Yeah.
That one. That seemed a little bit onerous, and based on my experience, and perhaps maybe some of this is behind the scenes where the applicant doesn't necessarily see it all.
Right.
I mean, I just looked at that and I thought, whoa, 7, 6.
Right. So the pre-application meeting, we're essentially going to be providing the applicant with the criteria, and there will be a guidebook. So we'll walk them through what is the process for getting a project funded. The economic development review is essentially making sure that they're in alignment with the economic development strategy. And so we have those frequent meetings to make sure that with the economic development team, just to make sure it's in alignment. That's before they spend a significant amount of time putting an application together. In the middle where you have the formal application, that's really where it starts. That's the formal aspect of it. Then it goes to the review committee. So in terms of review, it's really, the TAD advisory committee and then, mayor and council. The other parts are.
And then also the minimum, the $1 million minimum. I guess $1 million isn't much these days, but.
So I know that there are some TADs, like in the city of Atlanta, that goes down to 500,000 because they're funding different types of things. They may be funding programs. They may be funding a grant program. So we were toying with that. Do we have it higher and make it, for much larger catalytic projects, or do we make it a little bit lower for? Could be, the school wants to do a parking lot.
Just an example, perhaps somebody wants to redevelop a parcel in our TAD, and part of that redevelopment, we know that we have stormwater issues, and perhaps they're going to spend $500,000 to upgrade or improve the stormwater. And in that case, that wouldn't be eligible. They wouldn't be eligible, but that would be a big benefit to us. So that's.
Yeah, that's something that's, I think that, we're proposing $1 million. If mayor and council feel as though it needs to be or should be lower, that threshold is a.
It's a discussion. I'm just
Yeah,
asking the
absolutely,
questions.
absolutely.
Councilmember Sells.
I think I'm the bad actor on the $1 million, if I recall, wasn't I? I believe that was me, yeah. I mean, it's the birth pains to give birth to a mouse question. And so that was my view on that. It needed to be large enough to be worth the, sorry. Yeah. Some of my investment analogies are a little tame. So let's talk about the process just a little bit if we could. I was wondering, so the TAD Advisory Committee, is that a yes/no gate? Is that an advisory gate? In other words, that's one question. And the second question is, in regard to like the size and all that kind of stuff, we're talking about basically offering a bond. So there's a debt instrument here that would be the funding source, and the cost of offering on a $500,000 is hard. It really starts to get to the cost of capital question. So that's part of the reason for that. But do you mind speaking to what the TAD Advisory Committee's authority level is?
It is a review committee. It can make a recommendation to mayor and council. You have the ultimate authority. We can come and present and tell you, what's coming through the pipeline, but they do not. It is advisory.
Thank you.
Mayor Wilson.
Alan, 2 points. Yeah, you weren't the only, I thought we were well above $1 million, so I'm a little,
Yeah, I think that was $1 million.
I think I was well above $1 million on this because it's about,
Right, scissors.
exactly. It's about creating catalytic projects.
Exactly. I agree.
And that's
Yeah.
the whole point of doing this.
Yeah.
The point is not for microscopic projects, particularly at this juncture. The second part is that, just kind of to your point, is that the second bucket, the City Economic Development Review, that's the business we've gotten into, as you know. That's the business really that the economic team is doing, which is,
Absolutely.
that's the choke point.
Yep.
So by the time it gets to 4, she's already been solidified.
I just want to make sure that Fulton County BOE was not
Oh, I'm with you.
yes/no
No,
on our project.
exactly. Number 2 should be the yes, no.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The City Economic Development Review, you and the economic team are saying, yep, we got council's guidance on this,
Right.
right? And it's good to go, or, no, that's not going to fly.
Yeah. So
To your point, I guess the 4, the city's already on board.
exactly. Right.
It doesn't
Yeah.
get to 4 unless the city's on board.
Right. It's coalition building in number 4,
That's right.
and making sure that we've checked all our wells with the interested parties.
And to your point, you're starting coalition building at 2.
Right.
If the city's good with it, if the economic team's good with it,
Right.
then you go to coalition building before you even get into the formal application, because why waste anybody's time?
My all-time hero, Jeff Leatherman, today shared with us his new and improved process to
Yes.
summarize
Yes.
deal flow and to bring specifically, not only the economic development, but the impact on the community, those other intangibles that are important to the city as well, as early as possible in the process of the review of the deal. As I like to say, if the answer is no, I want to get to no as quickly as possible.
Let's contrast this to the past. So in the past, if you were to build this, it's funny, I'm glad you brought this up. It'd have 3.
Start at number 5.
It'd have 3 buckets. It'd have 3 buckets, right? It'd have an application, then the review, and then the mayor and council, right? And it would take forever, and it'd be one big giant cluster doo-doo. And, right, and then there'd be no alignment, no agreement, and there'd be massive disconnect, and then a bad deal be put together, and then it'd be brought, and then the council would have to vote on a bad deal.
Right.
This deal is basically a number 2 bucket. The deal formulation really is starting there, because by the time you get to 5, you're at the fine points of the lawyers, right? The 2 is really where you're saying, okay, we have a deal in concept, and we understand it. Now let's get to see if this makes sense to us.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, and that pre-application meeting, I mean, I had one of those at 4 o'clock today. So it's that there is an opportunity, we're talking to developers, just like the one the MOU that we approved last night. We knew what the real estate owner needed, and so we were, that's almost like, that is a evolution, it's not a meeting. The first step is ongoing for a number of projects at all times.
That's right,
Yeah.
exactly right. And the negotiation of terms are happening from bucket 2, really all the way. Bucket 5 is It's the 10,000 hours of lawyer time wasting over the fine points.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're getting better at that, by the way. I want to, as part of the process, we are defining the terms in term sheets, and that's part of the reason we're going through LOI, MOU, term sheet, draft docs, final docs, and closing. That's the way deals get done, and not, just vomiting the whole thing on the lawyer's desk and say, make a deal out of this. So we're being much more, Daryl and Jeff and Joe, sort of Joe,
No.
Bill, we're being much more deliberate about making sure that we have thought through those things as a group. That's what we are focused on, and making sure that it's a deal that will close before we, take it to the market, which Bill so eloquently demonstrated recently.
All right, thank you all. Any further questions or comments pertaining to this item? Seeing none, we'll entertain
I
a
think Will
motion.
wants to say something about branding again. That's right.
Right. We'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Sells, second by Councilmember Johnson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, that passes unanimously as well. Thank you very much. And prior to getting to our last item, item number 6, excuse me. Item number 6. Thank you, ma'am. Item number 6 is a quarterly management review, third quarter 2025 and 2025 top priorities presented by our Chief Operating Officer, Don Stevens. I will, for the benefit of the audience here and the viewing audience, mention that the third quarter financial analysis was provided at yesterday evening's mayor and council meeting, as well as the economic development report was provided at yesterday's mayor and council meeting. Certainly encourage anyone interested in those two items to view last night's meeting. The content was detailed and speaks to the vision of economic development and the fiscal stewardship of the mayor and council. And so certainly encourage you to view those items. Tonight, Mr. Stevens will focus on the management review and one particular item, I believe, that has relevance for today and for residents and businesses here in the city of Roswell. Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. Council, we have a scaled-down version of the quarterly management review. To Mr. Knighton's point, we typically go through this is more like a quarterly board meeting is how we fashion this, and there's usually an overview of goals and objectives, priorities, operations dashboard. We covered that in great detail during the budget workshop, so we're not going to need to go through that. And then to Mr. Knighton's point, the quarterly reviews for the financials and the economic development report were covered last night. So yes, tonight is a much more scaled down version. We're going to cover a high level, kind of a COO's view of where we are through the third quarter. We'll touch on the mayor's top priorities. And then, as we usually do, we'll pick one or two of the priorities and go into a little detail. Senior Vice President Jeff Leatherman will come up and talk about business and resident services and the launch and the ribbon cutting of that today, which is certainly timely as well. So you'll be glad to know, especially after last night, we've scaled this presentation down to just over 100 slides. So very encouraging. Take your jacket off. But no, grateful to be here and always look forward to presenting. An executive summary. Again, a little bit of a COO's perspective. If you kind of go back to the genesis of these quarterly reports, or quarterly report outs, I should say, we really talked about this in the leadership planning conference back in end of January, February, and it was a commitment for the staff, for myself, to get in front of you on a quarterly basis, and here's how we're doing. And in that meeting, we rolled out a very, what I would call a pretty aggressive list of strategic imperatives, goals, and objectives, ranging from everything from transformational economic development, investing and maintaining infrastructure, best-in-class public safety, service excellence, stewarding with integrity, and establishing a great place to work. So a number of goals and objectives. We won't go through those tonight. I'm very encouraged by the year-to-date results so far across all of those imperatives. I think, and I'll talk about this in a few moments in a little bit more detail, but if you just look at it from a project standpoint, economic development, infrastructure to include transportation, we are somewhere around 50 to 60 projects. I think last night and tonight are a perfect example of the projects and the volume of initiatives that we have coming forward. And so very grateful for the progress that we continue to make with the projects. But I'm also, really encouraged with in the midst of the projects, the focus around systems, process, and structure. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, because that is, in my view, essential to maintaining momentum. This is a third quarter report. We're already a month into the fourth quarter. So we definitely have momentum heading into the end of the year, and I feel like good momentum heading into 2026. Not only from a project standpoint, but I think some of the structural components that we're putting in place to allow us to drive some sustainability. From a service delivery, service excellence standpoint, we've talked a lot about safe, clean, reliable, responsive. We just did and we've talked a lot about the monthly business review process that we have put in place. We just had our September review last week with all the departments. And I would say, this has been a crawl, walk, run process. We have gone from just determining, okay, do we have performance standards and do we have measures in place? And I would say this last week was the first time that I felt like really across the board with all the departments that we were moving from, okay, what is this that we're looking at? A little bit of what are these numbers and getting our heads around it, to actually getting into a performance management rhythm where we're like identifying root cause, identifying priorities, focuses, those sorts of things, allowing the data that we're looking at to inform decision-making and priorities. You saw some of that flow through into the budget that you approved last night. We're becoming more targeted in that area, developing leading indicators to allow us to focus in the right areas in real time. No, it doesn't mean that we're perfect, that we don't have areas that we need to focus on. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to illuminate where we do need to focus based on standards. And I'll give you an example. If you look at safe, clean, reliable, responsive, from a safe and reliable standpoint, I would say we're incredibly strong. Those are areas of strength. Clean is getting much better. It's a difficult area to tackle. I'll use bathrooms as an example in parks. We have roughly 13 parks across the city, 101 restroom facilities. They're cleaned on a at least daily basis. Some of them are cleaned multiple times. We have established, and I say we very loosely, Director Malone, Taylor, the team have developed an inspection process where each week those restrooms are inspected by a supervisor. That's a documented process based on a standard operating protocol, an SOP. So, and that's just an example of Rec and Parks. Director Watson, who was here, has initiated a number of the similar type inspection processes for facilities. Is he here? Oh, there he is. He's hiding. But, this is an area that is typically easy to say that something needs to be clean. What is the standard and what is the process that we're actually checking to make sure that the work is being done? These are all processes and structures that have been stood up at the first of the year, since the first of the year. And it's allowing us to execute and target and align our resources a little more effectively. Again, I'll kind of point to the budget that you approved last night. There were a number of items in that were included in the budget to improve cleanliness in some of our facilities. Again, not just in Rec and Parks, but in the facilities that Brian oversees. I would also say one of the outcomes as well is we're getting a much better view as to what is clean versus worn out. And that's important. Right, and I've done a few inspections on the Rec and Park side with Stephen. You walk into some facilities and it's like, okay, this is not dirty, but it's worn out. And so you'll see in our initiatives next year a number of those facilities being replaced as part of the bond process. Those are leading to discerning decisions around, yes, this is a replacement, but this is a clean issue and those sorts of things. So being able to distinguish clean versus worn and tired is incredibly important when you do facilities work. And so I'm kind of going a little bit deeper there. Responsive is another area that is, again, I believe for us it's an area where we have some work to do. And it's mostly, again, because the KPIs in this area can be a little more subjective, a little more difficult. This is where you get into looking at the, getting feedback from your customers in terms of our product and service delivery, and so we need to continue to focus there. But generally speaking, I'm pleased with the level of service delivery that we are providing, and I think we have got good visibility to the areas where we need to improve. Our CFO, Mr. Gottschall, went over financial results last night. Very strong, and I think you can be doing everything you want to be from an operational perspective, but if you're not ahead of the game financially, then you're not in a good place. It really doesn't matter. So, very grateful, encouraged at the results through the third quarter that Bill reviewed last night. Obviously, I'm not going to need to go through those. I will point out, though, the importance of a forecast from an operator's standpoint. Starting at the beginning of the year, well, I would just say, you cannot overstate the importance of a forecast. It allows us to, not look backwards, but look forwards. It positions operations more from a proactive stance than a reactive stance. And so the work that Bill's team has done, not just with developing the forecast, but actually seasonalizing the budget, and really in the first quarter and leading into the second quarter of the year, to actually do that while we were in the middle of the fiscal year, it's heavy lifting. And it has allowed us to, when you couple that with the improvements that we've made from operating KPIs, and you start talking about those two things together at the same time, that's really where we need to be from an operations management standpoint. So kudos to the finance team and Bill in driving those results. And we'll go into the progress of the mayor's top priorities here in just a moment, and Jeff will give an update on resident and business services. You've seen this list, obviously, before. This was established in the leadership conference at the beginning of the year. It's, I think, somewhat helpful sometimes in a quarterly review to take a step back and look at all of it at once. You kind of see holistically the depth and breadth. And again, when I say aggressive approach, this is aggressive. There's a lot of depth and breadth here. A little bit of the color coding you can see, off to the left in the icons, blue, green. Blue represents priorities that there has been substantial progress made this year in 2025, in my view. Slowdown in Roswell is an example. You approved the pilot program just a few weeks ago. I think most, if not all of these, this is kind of this year. These will transition into next year. This is not a one and done type of thing. Some of these are multi-year in their focus. But you can kind of see, I'm not obviously going to go through the list of the blue items I think we've made substantial progress across the board. The green items represent areas where there has been some amount of work done. Bulk of the work will take place in 2026. The RAND and the UDC standards, those were discussed to a degree last night. Those are both covered in the budget that you've approved. The financial shared services model, Bill reviewed that in the workshop, the transformation, the financial transformation, the organizational changes that he's looking to make there. He's already started some of that work. And then, as we're coming out of the budget, we're really starting to transition our focus now into the 3 to 5 year business modeling. And the priority around that, our goal is to have that really complete and started to having some model outcomes to look at. And then really that be one of the centerpieces of the leadership conference that at the end of January. So instead of us having a deep dive like we did in the last leadership conference around, 1 year's goals, objectives, and priorities, we really want to, now that we're kind of have that past us with the budget process and the priorities that have been approved there, we really want to extend that out and look at that over a multi-year period and have more of a strategic focus in the leadership conference. So good stuff in my view in terms of progress here, and just so much appreciation to not just the leadership team, but the council, the council liaisons in supporting and driving these initiatives. A lot of good teamwork here over really through the year. And you've seen this slide before. I just wanted to touch on it again. If you recall, again, back to the leadership conference at the beginning of the year, I had been here just about, roughly 100 days. And these were some of my observations in terms of priorities for the organization. These are more structural. If you kind of look through you see here planning process and a lot of the support service focus, those sorts of things. These represented areas where, in my view, we needed to really kind of have some very distinct actions to really help us drive consistency and execution, increase bandwidth and speed in terms of delivery of projects and operations, and then ultimately sustainability. This is not, we're not undertaking this so that we can have a 1 or 2 year type of impact, which can happen sometimes when you get into just pure project management. When the projects are over, well, then what, right? So there's an element here which is about sustainability and long-term impact and a little bit of cultural change. So when you start to then transition into 2026 priorities, and this is just these are some top-of-mind items. This doesn't represent what we will review in the leadership conference. You kind of see that we start moving from broad words like structure and process, and we're starting to now get into more targeted areas, targeted initiatives, targeted priorities, and that will continue. That will continue. So, again, you could pick any one of these topics and spend 15, 20 minutes talking about it. No need to. We'll have plenty of time to get into those. But one of the reasons I'm encouraged, right, and we're not only continuing to deliver a number of projects and bring them forward, but I feel like not so much behind the scenes, but really from a foundational standpoint, we're starting to really get process improvement, and quite frankly, some people on the team that give us a different level of competency than what we had in some of our support organizations. So for me, that's very encouraging. That is 3 slides. And that's all I have. If Jeff's Senior Vice President Leatherman's now. I'll give it over to him. And Mr. Knighton, any questions, certainly willing to answer those.
Sure. Any questions at the moment for Mr. Stevens? All right, we'll welcome Mr. Leatherman, Senior Vice President.
Thank you, Council. I'm going to run through our resident and business services initiative that we established, as Mr. Stevens has just outlined, as part of the mayor's top priorities for 2025. I had the pleasure of working with Councilmember Hills on this project, among others, and it is fantastic to be able to celebrate the ribbon cutting on the same day that we are providing an update in this 2025 priority list. And I think as Don mentioned, and has been demonstrated over the past couple of even council meetings and in the committee meeting tonight, there's a number of initiatives that are on our list for 2025 that the entire staff team is undertaking. And it truly is a team effort. When you think about the resident and business services, just the remodel component, it has an element of not only our community development staff, but also our CIP team, as well as every single member, which you'll see the list has been involved in the true transformation of how we are providing services and really doing business in the city of Roswell for our customers, for our residents, and for our businesses. And so it's been a very exciting undertaking over the course of the past really 2.5 years. And it started right here in this very room as we received the initiative a couple of years ago to start to rethink how we were doing business in the city. And the challenge is we had several front counter operations spread around the city. We had, couldn't even tell you how many different phone numbers that we had published around the city. And the work has been to truly consolidate all of that information, all of that knowledge, but all of that service into a one-stop service for our community. And that is what we are delivering on day one today, the 28th of October. But it has been a tremendous journey that we have undertaken both digitally and physically in the city of Roswell. The team gathered a lot of data, developed strategies, and created an action plan that included the consolidation of all of our customer service functions into City Hall into one team, including phones, emails, and front counter operations. Very easy sentence to say, a lot of work to do. Key findings in that process is we started to work with all the different departments. Our permit and registration system needed to be overhauled. This is primarily our community development function, but also our business registration function. Front counter operations were spread throughout the city. Phone and email communications were handled differently by each department. And believe it or not, we really didn't even know what our total customer volume was in the city, whether it would be phone calls, requests for services, or even front counter support. That was disconnected because we didn't have the right systems in place to even track that information. And so part of our initial data gathering effort was really just to take a snapshot in time. It was August, and we had all of our front counters, all of our first touch points throughout the city, just physically log on spreadsheets all of their touch points with our customers, both by phone and in the front counters, just to try to get a sense of the volume that we were going to be dealing with and how we started to form the team. That translated into a strategy that was really in two parts. Part one was the digital transformation. And so while we celebrated the ribbon cutting of a physical space, I do not want to underscore the opportunity that we took to truly transform the electronic function of how we do business for our community. And this is probably one of the most important moves that I think that we've made over the last couple of years. And centralizing all of our permitting and all of our licensing into a single location on a digital platform. This is the first time that the city has undertaken this level of an initiative. And so now we have a single point, both physically and digitally in the city of Roswell, to apply for a business license, to apply for a permit, to apply for a deck permit is the same process that you would for a business license, and it's in the same hub under the same account. And so our community, our residents, our businesses only need to have one location where they go for any of our permits and in our licensing in the city of Roswell. That digital transformation literally took the past year. In the background, our team has been working literally every day, and you will see a slide in a moment of all of the different team members that we tried to capture that have been involved over the past 12 months in this transformation. I will just make a little plug right now. Our community will start to see a number of different emails and social media posts about registering in our new online licensing hub. We launched it a couple of weeks ago. That is starting to take shape throughout the entirety of the city of Roswell. And there are a couple of steps that we need our community to take to register in the hub so that we can connect their existing business license to our new online hub so that we can marry the previous history of our licensing process all the way to their current access point. The second was the physical transformation of our downstairs area. And really, we searched all kind of high and low around City Hall to understand where was the best location that we could centralize all of this work. And we centered around the first floor, as close to the parking lot as we get, on the Hill Street side of the building. And for many of you know, our community development, planning and zoning department had to move and consolidate in order for us to make space for our resident and business services new hub. We took about 8,000 square feet of space and remodeled it into our new service center that is available for the community in and around this area. You were invited, sorry that you missed it if you weren't there, at 2 p.m. today to come for the official ribbon cutting. And now it is officially open for our community, but a very exciting transformation. I also just want to point out that it was very important that we were able to utilize positions from throughout the city. And this took a lot of trust from our different departments, that we were able to pull frontline staff members from a variety of different departments, and we are consolidating all of those staff members now under one team. That leads to a level of trust amongst our departments that they are trusting us to provide the same level of service or better than what they have already provided, and we're committed to continuing to earn that trust on a daily basis. This is just some of the data that we are starting to collect. Many of you probably in this room are aware, but some may not be. We actually started the consolidation of the team about 8 months ago. And we started slowly in the background taking on new departments month over month so that when we opened in October, we were truly a full service hub providing service on day one. So during the ribbon cutting process today, that team has been working together in the background, and this is some of the data that we've been collecting really since January. And you can see where different departments have come online as part of this initiative. So at the top of this, you just see some stats on the number of calls that our resident business services team has handled. This was at a point in time when our financial services team was independent. As of Monday, those two teams have now combined, and that's the last transition that we have made as part of this overall initiative. And so moving forward, coming into November, you won't see the two left-hand charts independent of one another. Those will now be combined in one place. But then you can see on the right-hand side, the types of inquiries that we're receiving, the volume of phone calls that have been handled by campaign, utility billing, business registration, tax tax, along with general inquiries, questions about solid waste, all data that we are now retrieving and receiving on a regular basis and really on a daily basis that we can use to determine when we're working, how many hours we should be open, but also what services that we're providing on a regular basis. So this level of data has driven the decisions that we're making and will continue to drive our success as we move forward. This is just one kind of snapshot as it relates to general inquiries, how many calls that we've taken. Months 6 and 7, you can see some increase around that time frame. We probably had a new service that we were providing, and so we had an increase in phone calls. But this allows us to get data back and forth to our operators and to our resident and business services team so that we can manage the head count that we have, but also the services that we're providing. As we think about the success measures just in the past couple of weeks, so this is the rollout of our new electronic platform. Again, the licensing hub. You can start to see day one, the new resident and business accounts all the way through the 24th of this last month. And we've seen even an increase in those new accounts over the last few days because of the communications that we've had through our communications department. And so this will continue to climb. You'll see this number reach in the 6,000s by the time we have full implementation over the next few months. This is just a general snapshot of the data that we're able to retrieve out of the system. This is the first time that we've been able to get our hands on this level of data at this quick of a time snapshot. And so permits were added both by staff and by our resident and business users. This is just a snapshot in time from last week, but you can start to see the system being optimized and being used both internally and externally, and all the number of permits that we're providing throughout the city of Roswell. This is a really, really important graph, and I'll explain a little bit why, but you can start to see on the left-hand side our back office applications. So that's internal, that's the work that we're doing to help support customers, and then the online applications, meaning the customers are able to provide those application processes and do it themselves and independent. And this is a really important component because prior to the launch of this system, all of this work was done manually in our community development office and through email. Now the hub, we were able to provide all of this information, optimize our workflows, and move community members through the process much faster. On the bottom graph, this is the applications by day. And if you can start to see when we launched the new hub system, the back office applications started to drop off and the online applications started to pick up. This just demonstrates the usability of our new system and the way that our community members are able to access it and self-serve in order to move either at the time frame in which they need to move or at this pace in which they need to do business. This is all of the people that it took to make all of this happen over the course of the last really 12 to 18 months. Of course, we want to thank our mayor and council, Mr. Knight, and our executive leadership, but literally this project did not touch, it did not miss any department across the organization. We had members from every single department involved both in the physical remodel, but also the digital transformation of how we're doing business. And I apologize right now for staff members if I miss you. We did our very best to try to capture everybody that has been involved over time. But I just want you to recognize as a community, but also as a council, when we talk about breaking down silos across the organization, this is just another example of how we're coming together as an organization to truly move forward as a community, but also as a city in providing our service. And it truly is a system-wide effort across the organization. We can't do it without our people. This is our new team. Officially this morning, starting in our resident business services on the bottom right-hand corner. Most of you know Shay up in the top left-hand corner. She is also part of that team. A couple of remodel pictures, but I do encourage anybody that hasn't had the opportunity to walk through our new space, please come visit us, join us, learn how we are doing business differently in the city of Roswell as part of this initiative. We have more is yet to come as we're thinking about how we're continuing to improve our processes overall, but we're very excited to get to this milestone today and want to thank everybody for their support. And back to all of these team members across the organization, thank you very much for tolerating me and the team really upending how we do customer service here in our community.
Well, I think
Yes, thank you so much. Councilmember Sells.
I just wanted, first thing I did was looked on my old Huckleberry here to see how it looked mobile. And it looks like it was mobile first. It seems like it was developed
Yeah.
mobile in mind, so it's very user-friendly, it appears.
It is.
Does this tie into the submit online services request, or is that a completely?
So that service request that you're talking about for citizens to report issues in and around the community, so the two do not interface with one another, but the same team manages both. So our resident and business services team is also on the front lines addressing anything that's coming through the online portal. The advantage of the online portal is it drops directly into the departments, but we do report and process the reports and then can troubleshoot any issues that our community is having right out of our hub.
Right, and the some of the number slides, I think it's really important to focus on the fact that you've transitioned. I mean, this started 2 years ago, or?
Yeah, about 2 years ago is when the initial work happened, and really, I would say took off in the last year as we started working on the licensing process as well.
To go live with an online approach and essentially do away with the manual approach pretty quickly like that, that is a very, very significant change in the way business is conducted with Roswell. Perhaps our mayor would be able to get his permit for his deck in less than 9 months now. That would be a great thing, right?
That'd be the goal, yes, sir. Yeah, and just talking about the permit type real quick, we have, I think it's somewhere around 70. Yeah, it is. It's there. About 70 different workflows as it relates to different permit types, because everything's a little bit different. Deck, demolition, electrical, fire, they all have a different workflow behind it. And the team truly had to rebuild all of those workflows so that it became seamless on the customer's end. And we can funnel all of those workflows right through this process and through the hub. So really the customer doesn't see the back end work, and it really becomes hand in glove as it relates to not only our community development, but all the other departments that are involved.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Thank you.
Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, and thank you, Jeff. And I just really want to reiterate to the public and everybody that's listening what a huge accomplishment this is. I mean, 3 years ago, we sat at a management conference, and I mean, this city was just departments, and it was just paper, just moving a piece of paper. Departments didn't talk to each other. Papers did not talk to each other. It was, I mean, in my mind, to be a city of almost 100,000 people in this century, in 2022, to be operating that way was just unbelievable. And just when we came up with this concept, basically breaking down the silos, bringing the city into operating as we should be and having these kind of results. I mean, it's just incredible what this organization and the people in this organization have done. I mean, I really want people to recognize the gravity of this project. It's not just opening up a section of City Hall, where I mean, granted, it is much easier for folks, but this is tremendous. The data that we have, the efficiency for the residents. I mean, people need to understand how big of a deal this is.
Yeah, and I really can't emphasize the names on this screen enough. The workload behind the last 12 years of both the physical and digital transformation of the city is a testament to all of these people.
And I tell you, these people all sat in that room. I was here two and a half years ago, and I think people were saying, were in disbelief that we could get here.
Yeah.
And they did it.
They
did it under your leadership, under everybody.
It really has been a fantastic team effort, no doubt. And I appreciate all the department directors' involvement, their team members' assignment to this. And, when you get involved, especially into a software project, for anybody that's been involved with it.
And Damien's team, my gosh.
My goodness.
I mean, that's a huge lift.
Significant. It's very easy to wear yourself out over a 12-month process. And it's very easy to start to take shortcuts. And this team dedicated themselves to providing the very best finished product. We will always find little bugs that we're going to need to work out over the course of the next couple of months. That's just natural. But they have committed themselves to continuous process improvement as a collective team across the organization.
Congratulations.
Which is fantastic.
Councilmember Sales, and I'll come to Councilmember Hall.
Sorry.
Hills. Yeah.
When I joined council 2 years ago, Damien wasn't here, and the they were nice people, they were good people, but their focus was, you know, making sure your printers worked, making sure you had your computer on your desk. We hired, as a city, I mean, under the mayor's leadership and under Mr. Knighton's leadership, we hired someone with a skill set that was beyond what we had been doing. And we imagined something different, and it was executed because we hired, you know, many other people on that. But as far as like getting that to work on this device easily, form factor, understanding those kinds of things, that's what I do for a living, or one of the things I do for a living. And that's not easy. That's not something you're just going to discover by, you know, watching a couple of Google videos. This is a guy who knows what he's doing, and he executed it well, and it shows. And so, you know, this is why hiring properly, having solid performers who understand not only how to do it, but also what the goal is, and can go from concept to execution. That's really a big deal.
Thank you. Councilmember Hills.
Yes, thank you. Jeff, can you go back to that pie chart that shows
when
the
you
number,
stop.
that one? Yes. What kind of timeline is that?
That was maybe like it was a couple of days, like a week,
Perfect,
maybe
but
at
it's
the
at any
most.
time you can get a snapshot of that, like.
Yeah.
So I think this is really important, and I know we've got small numbers. 2 applied for a retaining wall,
Yep.
3 an LDP. But this is huge because the best example ever is the mayor not being able to get a permit for his deck for 9 months. It's the best and worst example. But tying back to zero-based budgeting, I remember my first year here, the mayor's first year here, Will's first year. We were like, well, how long would it take? How many are you getting of these type of permit requests or these type of activities that some ask may have 7 of these items tied in? We couldn't even forecast other than let's get more file folders and somebody else to carry the files to each different department in the city. So the zero-based budgeting couldn't even be addressed for departments because we didn't have any kind of clue how many touches that one file folder for one project that touched 7 different permits or pieces of paper that were crucial to the execution of that project. And here we've got it for, I don't know if this is a week-long snapshot, but you could track any given project that comes in or request by, we know internally how many things it needs to touch. But I think it just speaks again to the mayor's vision of putting in place zero-based budgeting. We all signed up for it, and knowing that, you know, we, being policy people and not procedure people on the elected side, couldn't say, I know how many times that needs to be touched. We just knew it needed to be fixed. So this is, the visual for me is not lost here, to be able to see that. But it's a massive, from the Flintstones to the Jetsons type move here. And,
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's for little old me over here saying that. For the folks in the room that have put this together, that's, you know, light years ahead of me. But I see it, and I think it's fantastic. And I love that our residents and business people that are using the city of Roswell or working in the city of Roswell don't have to know all that. They just know that they can get to it, they can handle it through their phone or here or both, and keep moving with the project and have a happy customer or happy life doing what they need to be doing in the city. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Councilmember Morthland.
Just to wrap this up. One of the best things that's come from this that I understand is when someone puts in a permit for whatever they're asking for, the system is going to lead them through it, and the system is going to consistently remind them of how they're still looking for something on behalf of that applicant's need, as compared to getting frustrated with the city, calling city council, elected members, calling the city administrator, talking about, it's been 3 weeks, I haven't heard anything, why haven't I heard anything? This process and this system is going to alert them, hey, we're still looking for something from you. It's on you to get this to us at this point. And so that communication and that openness is something that has been lacking and missing. That's the big piece that I'm most excited about here. So very good job.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, Councilmember Johnson.
I think, again, from last night's comments with the talk about the GMA loan to tonight, it just shows that we have a staff that not only is efficient with the taxpayers' money, but efficient with the taxpayers' time and energy. And, you know, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Randy. I want David City's an Auburn fan. But, you know, no, this is once again just a really, really great example of how we are modernizing the staff of this city to move into the next stage of what's coming technology-wise, what's coming economically-wise, and really, really proud to, serve with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further comments on this item? I'll just simply say that this is, and I can't underscore this enough, this is absolutely transformative for the residents and businesses of this city, for the organization, to undertake something so vast as essentially reimagining and reinventing how you serve residents physically. And in the electronic sphere is something that certainly we could be proud of in service to the residents, and ultimately that's what we all do in our elected or appointed capacity, is to serve the residents and businesses of Roswell. At the same time of executing $180 million in bonds, at the same time of addressing a very ambitious economic development strategy, at the same time of establishing a full-time fire department over a 5-year period, and at the same time maintaining the highest class police pay, and the many other initiatives that have been undertaken, that have been completed in service to the residents of Roswell cannot be emphasized enough. And so I thank certainly the mayor and council for ultimately, you're the leaders, you are the policymakers, you set the vision, and it's then left to us to implement and execute. So thank you very much for your high-level leadership. Thank you very much for providing the resources necessary to the staff to be able to execute. And we certainly appreciate your leadership, your vision. And ultimately, again, it is in service to the residents and businesses of Roswell. And so thank you, Mr. Leatherman, Mr. Stevens, the entire team, that entire list of people who had a part in this. And we appreciate the opportunity to serve, and we'll continue to do so at the highest level. So thank you very much. This item does not need any formal vote. And so with that, yes, ma'am.
Do you want to ask the scouts if they have any questions?
Shh. We'll do something here. We want to, since we have so many scouts here, and thank you all again for being with us here this evening. Many of our staff members and or electeds, if you're able to, will stay just after. We know we've got some commitments here. We'll stay after, and if you have any questions, we'll entertain questions from you and give you that opportunity to interface with us and ask questions on anything you've heard tonight or anything pertaining to the city. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate your attendance, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve. With that, we'll ask for a motion of adjournment. Motion by Councilmember Beeson, second by Councilmember Johnson. All in favor? All right, thank you very much.